30% of all calls in dental practices go unanswered. And
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah.
if you can just get your answer rate from 70% to 92% over a course of a 10-year period, that's millions and millions of dollars in production.
We figured we would bring on someone today who we've used at our offices since we started
The beginning.
them. Yeah.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
yours 2017, mine 2019. I think it was the first
Yeah.
company that one of the
Literally
first
the
vendors
first
we
call
used.
we
Yeah.
made.
So we're talking about Mango Voice, right?
Yeah.
Which I feel like everyone knows who Mango Voice is in dental.
Yeah.
But it's one of the companies that I feel like we've used our entire time, and we've joked on other podcasts about, we've gone through like 8 marketing companies, and we've gone through, a few different supplier companies and stuff like that. But one that stayed consistent the whole time has been Mango, which is awesome. So I feel like whenever you can just like set it, forget it, and not think about it, that's nice. But anyways, we wanted to bring Kevin on because they are introducing like a new like AI feature within Mango, which he's kind of teased a little bit, and I've kind of seen it in some of the groups. And I feel like there's this huge AI craze now. So I wanted to bring him on just to talk about that, AI in general, and all that stuff. So Kevin, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here, and I think this is a topic everybody's thinking about, and not a lot of people understand how it can impact their practice. So I think this is going to be exciting.
Well, it feels like it kind of feels like it's a little bit of the Wild West, right? Where like the word AI is a popular word. And so now everyone's like, now I've got an AI this, and I've got an AI this, and I've got an AI this. And I feel like a lot of us are just kind of confused on, you don't know what you don't know, and we don't even know what to look out for, right? And so can you give us a little background on like why you decided in the first place to just go from like pivot into this AI part? Was there some piece that you were like, this is a need and dentists are going to want this?
Yeah, I think for us, what makes Mango unique is we are, really focused on dental practices. There's a lot of, people that do what we do, but they try to be everything to everybody, right? So they have a lot of breadth, but maybe not a lot of depth, where we have a lot of depth and we understand the dental market. And so, we've been, as we talk to dental practices, it's always trying to figure out how can we drive additional value? How can we give you greater insights? Things like that. And, about 2 years ago, as we were talking to practices, one topic came up pretty consistently that surprised me a little bit, which was, hey, we want every interaction with our patients documented in our practice management system.
Yeah.
They're like, that is so critical because that's central. We can keep track of what we've communicated with the patient. The problem was there was no system that could do that. So what we thought first is, hey, let's transcribe all these calls.
Yep.
Let's then summarize that call and let's write it back into the practice management system. And so that was kind of one of the foundational pieces of how can we start to use AI and machine learning to be able to drive value in the practice. And that's a huge thing for practices because now they don't have to document any of their phone calls or voicemails because we're automatically doing that for them, right?
Well, that's super helpful because like for us, right? Like this was our system because we had Open Dental and we had you guys forever, right? And every time I remember Alex would always get on me because she would be like, did you comm log this? Did you comm log this?
Oh, yeah.
And then everyone on the team had to remember to comm log everything. And when they did, it worked well because then, Sarah, who needed a crown on 30, could call. You could leave a comm log that you were you put your initials on it. I was the person that took this call. This is what it was, blah, blah, blah. But then if someone forgot once, you'd spend 20 minutes trying to figure out what they needed. So I can definitely see why that was probably feedback that every office gave.
Yeah, it's a huge time saver. And when I talk to offices that have implemented it, I think, Alex, you hit it in the head in the sense of, creating, greater transparency, in the practice. And what I mean by that is, let's say that you need to return a call to someone in the practice. How do you know what the previous person talked about?
Yeah.
You just don't, right? So if you have to go try to find that call in the call logs, things like that, like it becomes super problematic. Where now you can just go to Open Dental, right? Like Eric was saying, hey, I can just go straight to Open Dental and I can pull that up and I know exactly what they've talked about. And it saves you so much time when you're returning those to calls to the practice because now you know what you want to talk about. So it's a huge time saver. It creates a ton of transparency. But what I was saying is that's the foundational piece of AI, which is, you know, getting these calls in, transcribing these calls, because, you know, AI is only as good as the data that you have to train it. And I think this is a huge piece that practices need to be aware of, which is when you're going to implement some sort of AI in your practice, you should have a very good understanding of what is the data they've used to train any type of AI.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's a big piece.
Well, we're even learning that too, like, because we tinker around and toy around with like ChatGPT all the time, right? And when we've tried to say like, how do we get better outputs from it, right? It's always like, well, what you put in is what you get out, like you were
Mm-hmm.
saying. And so learning how to either prompt it to and get the right question that you want out so then it can give you the right answer is super important. But yeah, you're right. That, like you were saying with feeding it the right information, if like crazy example, let's say someone's like, yeah, I have a AI tool, it's generic but it can take transcribe calls and it can summarize them and do all that. But if it's taking information from, a plumber's calls, right, or from a vet call or something like that, and it's just taking generic ones, you're not going to get dental specific stuff, right? And so is can you go through how you guys set up this foundation piece and how you guys kind of built it from, like, go through the flow of how you built it from like the beginning to where it is now?
Yeah, just to reiterate, I think what you're saying is such an important thing, which is you have to have data specific to the practice, right? Because not all practices are the same, right? The GP is different in a pedo, and the list goes on and on. And so when you take these generic models and try to apply them, they just don't have any context, right? And if you're not really careful and thoughtful with them, they hallucinate a lot.
Yeah.
They go off the rails. And so when you think about what you want AI to do, so let's just take, an AI agent that answers phone calls.
Okay.
You're basically saying to that agent, I trust you to interact with my patients the same way I would.
Yeah.
Well, the computer doesn't know how to do that. And so what are you using to meet your kind of your expectation, your bar? And it's data. So you guys both mentioned that let's just say, used Mango for the last 8 years. We have probably tens of thousands of your calls. So
Yeah.
we can ingest all that call data in, and that agent will understand your practice at a very deep level once
Yeah.
we're
So it's
done.
very customized, right? Which is what's
It,
important.
yeah, it's customized per practice. So we're not taking this kind of broad general model. We actually do it office by office. And
Oh,
one
wow.
thing that we do that's really cool is we'll actually ingest all those calls, and then we'll actually go through and say, give us the 25 most asked questions and rank them from 1 to 25 that this practice gets asked.
Okay.
And then tell us the 5 most services that they get asked. And just that exercise and giving that back to the practice has been really cool, because now, the doctor, the office manager's like, okay, this is actually really cool. I know what the 25 most asked questions we get are. And you can even use that from a training perspective.
Oh my gosh, that's super valuable because like when you actually like sit down and talk to your front desk and you're like, what do you get calls on? And they're like, I don't know. They want to know how much a crown is and like, do I take their insurance? I'm like, that's it, and it's like, no, there's probably a lot more, going on, and maybe they don't know how to answer it properly because I've never trained someone on how to answer, a specific question or anything like that. So that is really, really valuable.
Yeah, and also services. So just getting that list of services, are you getting asked for things that maybe you don't offer? And
Yeah.
is that a revenue opportunity for you? But it's
Yeah.
traditionally a
Yeah.
black box
So
because
Yeah.
you
like,
don't
oh,
know.
yeah.
Totally.
So like, this just happened to our office like 2 days ago. You try to train everyone on everything, right? But then like when new people come in, you don't, you try to do all of it, but you always forget something. And we've been having an issue with like lower new patient counts. And we were trying to figure out what it is, or do we need to spend more in Google ads, right? Or do we need to get another new marketer, or what is it? And randomly, I had asked my assistant, I was like, oh, there was a limited exam for like the next day, and we had an opening today. And I was like, why can't they, why didn't we try to get them in today? Because they had called. And she was like, oh, well, it didn't look like you guys had any time, so I pushed them out the next day. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. That's never been our protocol. And my fault for not training you on this, but we've always had one of our core values is if someone calls with an emergency, we'll get them in the same day, right? No matter what the schedule is, we have an extra room, we'll put them in there. We won't tell them we can do treatment for sure, but we at least want to get them in. And that creates so much opportunity, right? Like you were saying, Kevin. And so I told her that. And then the next working day we had like 5 emergencies on the schedule because she now knew that. But that would be so cool if somehow with all the calls we get, we find out we do get a lot of emergency calls, right? And the team then knows, oh, we're getting these a lot. They know that from me, and then they know how to schedule it right. So yeah, I think what your stuff can do is it can just help so much with us remembering everything we have to tell our team, and then we actually have data to back it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And to your point, like you don't know what you don't know. And I think this is one of the challenges, for a dental practice, which is, the doctor's really focused on the clinical side and being in the operatories, right? And you can't be focused there and be focused on what's happening operationally in the practice at the same time, right?
No, I mean
And
it's
Yeah.
getting
It's
that
tough,
hard.
and
data, yeah,
yeah,
is
and I
super valuable.
and I mean
Yeah.
like that's the challenge we've all had as like practice owners too, like you said, is we are the most valuable when we're in the chair, right? So it's really hard when you're trying to split time. So you either have to, I feel like, I don't know, Alex, like you kind of have to commit to one or the other, right? And it's either like I'm going to bring associates into my practice, I'm going to let them produce, and then my value is going to be more running the practice, or is my value in the chair, and how can I use other tools and use things like AI to almost not replicate me, but have all those systems in place so I don't have to spend hours all the time training people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the potential of AI is to take, you know, kind of algorithmic tasks and do those really well and free all of us up to spend way more time on high value priorities in our life and in our practice. I think that's the potential of AI is let's spend time on the highest and best use instead of getting stuck in these algorithmic tasks. For example, um, a patient wants to call and reschedule. Like that's a great thing that AI could handle, right? Um, and you think about too, what's the revenue opportunities that are lost just because we don't have people to
Yeah.
answer the phone. So 30% of all calls in dental practices go unanswered. And
Yeah. Oh,
Wow.
I believe it. Yeah.
if you could just get your answer rate from 70% to 92% over a course of a 10-year period, that's millions and millions of dollars in production.
Yeah.
So, hey, instead of that going to voicemail, let's let that go to an agent who can at least interact, capture the data, get that back to the practice so that they can follow up. Um,
I mean,
Totally.
where do you think though? Because anytime you go through Facebook now, you're seeing like there's a new ad for a new like AI receptionist, right? It's like I feel like it's the most common thing I see
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I'm Alex and I mean, I think we're both sold on that concept that you just mentioned. I think one of the big barriers though that maybe a lot of dentists or people in general have when you've got new technology is, there's not 5 years of data that it's great, right? There's not a lot of social proof that it's great. Where do you see it? Like, where do you see it right now? Are you comfortable with where AI is right now that you would say is in the receptionist, right? Like, I'll put that in my office now. It's fine. Do you think we're there technology wise?
Yeah, this has been kind of an interesting evolution for me personally. Um, a few years ago when OpenAI came out, and there's this kind of massive euphoria in the market that this is going to fundamentally change our life. I mean, I tend to be skeptical when people get really excited about something. I tend to be contrarian because I'm like, is this herd mentality? Is there actually something here? And I think about, say in the last 25 years, there's really been maybe two technologies that have revolutionary like implications on our lives. One was the internet,
Yep.
and one was the smartphone. And we can debate whether the smartphone's good for us or not, but it it was a big change, right? There really aren't these transformational technologies that come along very often. So I think for the first little while, I was very skeptical. Um, what I will say, I think over the last 6 to 9 months, we personally have seen some pretty significant increases in the technology. And so what we're doing now, and I agree with what you said, Eric, which is we've got to start gathering data on this. And it's not only data from the practice side, but it's data from the patient side, saying, are patients okay interacting with these agents? And if they are, like, what are they really, really good at? So that's where we're at right now, which is we have this in offices and we're just gathering data. So we're
Yeah.
analyzing
Nice.
every call, understanding what the patient interaction's like. But I will say the technology has advanced significantly. And I think over the next 6 or 12 months, it's going to be to a point where it's going to be very difficult to decipher if I'm talking to a human or not.
Yeah,
That's cool.
what feedback are you getting right now, right? As you guys are implementing this offices from the patient side, like what are you hearing is like, give me some of the things that
Because
they're like,
I've interacted with one for like at a medical office. This is like maybe 6 months ago. I called and it was an AI agent and asked. I was a new patient. Asked me for my details. Asked me for insurance. It was totally fine. Like
yeah.
gave me the their first available appointment. I had no issues with
Yeah, I
it.
remember you telling me it was really
Yeah,
good.
I
And
was
there
like,
were no
honestly,
issues.
like that I don't
This is
care.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you hearing is like, what are some of the things that are really good right now, and what are some of the things that could be improved?
Yeah. So first of all, after this podcast, I'll send you one. You can listen to ours and
Yeah.
um, beat it up, have fun with it.
Oh no, we can put if you have the number or anything like that, if you're comfortable with it, we can throw it in the show notes too and put it at the bottom.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
totally.
cool.
Let's throw it in there and let
Yeah.
let people see what that experience is like.
Yeah.
I think the other so the answer is there's different cohorts that are okay with this, right? So my parents' generation, probably not so much. Um, but when you start thinking about kind of millennials, Gen Z, they're totally comfortable with this technology. And in fact, in some ways, they would prefer to talk to it versus the human, just
Yeah.
because that's
They
just
don't like
kind of how they're
people.
conditioned
Yeah.
to be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
what we're seeing from practices, so let's talk about the practice side first. I remember we rolled this out to our first practice and we do a weekly call with them. And I was pretty like not nervous, but I was apprehensive on that first call
Oh
because I
yeah,
thought the
totally.
dentist
Yeah.
was
Sure.
going to just be like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, get this thing out. His response, I found was pretty interesting. What he said was, hey, I actually see the potential of this, and this is pretty cool. Because he's like, normally I'd miss these calls, but you're grabbing them, you're grabbing the data from that call and then emailing it back, and then a human can get involved. So, what we feel like the technology is at right now is a second line of defense. Meaning,
Okay.
if a human can't answer, let's have the AI agent answer. That's better than going to voicemail.
Yeah.
After
Yeah.
hours, you can actually get more data from these calls than if they left a voicemail because we're training it to ask specific questions. So, for example, if it's a dental emergency, at one of the practices that we implemented this at, he actually went through step by step the questions he wants to know, right? Is a tooth in the front? Is it in the back? Is it on the top? Is it on the bottom? Is it on the right? Is it on the left? He's like, I want to isolate which tooth it is because then I can go pull up their x-rays, see if there's been any historical work done. He's like, I have a ton of context when I call that patient back.
Yep.
So our agent can run through that and kind of triage that and get that information and get it back to the dentist, after hours or on the weekend. So they have context on what's actually going on.
Oh, and I would think too, just from like a cost savings perspective, the traditional way of having to hire a company to either have people overseas or somewhere that are taking calls after hours, right? I mean, we've done it before. It's expensive. I would
Mm-hmm.
imagine
Yeah.
I would imagine having an AI agent answer all your after hour calls, weekend calls, whatever is probably significantly cheaper than using like human capital for that. If you like our podcast, check out Alex's newsletter, Just 2 Minutes. It's full of great advice, which makes sense considering it's her thoughts and not me sidetracking her every 2 seconds. You can subscribe at coupleofdentists.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, back to the pod.
That's right. And if you think about, man, if you could just capture, let's say, 3 or 5 new patients a month just by answering the phone, I mean, that's significant, right?
Totally.
And
And
so,
yeah, and I see another use case for like if we ever, we won't, but if we ever, did another office, like built up another office, that's the first thing I'd put in before even hiring a front desk. I'd be like, put an AI agent in there to get my, start getting my schedule or at least getting, leads coming in.
Oh yeah, if you were doing a startup, that would that'd be super beneficial.
Then I wouldn't be like so scared of like, oh, I got to answer this call or it's me, or now I got to hire someone just to like sit and answer a call or whatever. It's like, oh, just let the AI agent take that.
I mean, literally, I would think, Kevin, I don't know if you guys have thought about this, but if you were a startup office and you were 3 months out, if you can get a phone number and get a phone number and a phone, right, is all you need. And then you just have an AI agent answering all the calls so you can start your marketing efforts. You can get everything figured out. You don't have to worry about hiring someone, all that stuff. And it can,
well, especially on days when you like, we were only open 3 days a week, so it's like, what do you do on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it's like, oh, well, at least I know that someone's answering all of those calls.
Yeah.
And I can just get back to them.
I think we all know it's similar, like you said, to like the internet or where smartphones were. You have the early adopters, which I think is where we're at now, right? There's people that are interested in it, wanting to do it. I don't think anyone who's complaining and is like, this is stupid, this is never going to happen. I think we passed that like inflection point. I think it's fair to say like AI is going to take over a lot of stuff. It's just a matter of when. So for anyone like listening to this stuff, it's like this, in a few years, there'll be enough offices that are doing it to where then everyone's going to start doing it, right? And so I don't think this is one of those things that's going to go away. It's going to replace it. It just it makes too much sense. It's going to get better because, like we were saying, what's your other alternative? You either hire someone in your office 24/7 and they're in that's not going to happen, or you end up hiring a company to answer calls overseas. But now they have 50 people, and now they have to train 50 people. And then what if you got their top performer or their 50th? There's so many extra variables that when you can just get it down to like, there is one agent, it knows my office specifically. I mean, you're teaching it and you're training it just like you train a human being, right? Like it's the same. I was thinking about this. It's all data, right? Like we come out as babies and we're so stupid, but how do we get smarter? It's just learning and repetition and figuring things out. I mean, I feel like that's the same way you train AI, right? And so now you've got this specific thing that knows your office. It's gonna do I feel like it would do a way better job.
Guess what? It doesn't have off days, and it doesn't like.
And its capability levels, like its IQ level, is ridiculous, right? Like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
That's
it
my
doesn't.
rant on
It doesn't get frustrated, right? It doesn't. It just doesn't have, some of the emotions we have, which you could argue is good or bad. But in high kind of stressful environments, it just doesn't get stressed out. And I think what I see this technology doing in the practice is identifying all the calls that are somewhat menial. What I mean by that is like reschedules, things like this.
Mm-hmm.
And this potentially frees up, a human in your practice where you say, hey, for all new patients, I want a human. So imagine if AI could shield every call except for new patient calls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
This is where I think the application of this becomes like super, super interesting. And then imagine if it could just crawl through your PMS and say, oh man, Kevin has not been in for a hygiene in 12 months. I'm going to go out and I'm going to engage with Kevin and I'm just going to get
Yeah.
him scheduled.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
it
That's
literally
awesome.
is just searching for opportunities in your PMS and engaging with your patients and filling your schedule up.
yeah, and it's gonna
Yeah.
and
That's
that's
so
gonna help
smart.
every office, right? Like that
Yes.
isn't something where it's like more like marketing where it's like there's one patient and they have four options and then they pick you over someone else. Like what you're describing, it all practices rise with this technology, right? Because you're finding opportunities for a patient that's already there. So that's where I think this is super valuable too. This isn't like a zero sum game, right? Where it's like in this scenario, I win out, Alex, so then you lose. Like if everyone implements this, everyone wins because that just means more patients are more likely to get more treatment, which is good.
I agree. And I do think, kind of circling back on a topic, this is why you have to just be very thoughtful on what technology that you implement in your practice. And, you know, listen, at one point, Mango was a startup too, but to turn your patient communications over to a startup that doesn't understand dental is a risk,
Yeah.
right? And you've got to
Yeah.
quantify that risk and understand that risk. Um, or, try to go find a company that's like deeply entrenched, has all the relationships. So my point is just really understand where the data is coming from that they're training it. You know, what it is the experience that that patient's having, and the other one is make sure you're getting data on how those interactions are going. You can't just set it and forget it. Like you've got to monitor, you've got to understand how that's going. Otherwise, it potentially impacts your patient base. So I think you just got to be really kind of thoughtful and almost methodical about those questions.
Well, we've kind of heard too, maybe you can speak on it, is when you had said, maybe not go with a startup or someone who isn't as entrenched in dental before. Like I get that. And I feel like I've heard the concept of a lot of people just putting like a wrapper over something, not like RAPPER, but like W, putting that over something like a chat GPT or some other type
Yeah.
of model that people use, and then saying, okay, this is dental now, and now I can charge a dental tax on it, and now it's $500 a month to do. And when you actually unravel it,
Yeah.
you just find out you could have just paid $20 a month for chat GPT to do this. And I feel like I'm starting to realize that's happening a little bit more in most fields because, like we said, it's a new technology. No one really knows, no one really understands it. Like the end user doesn't really
Yeah.
understand how it works. And so it's really easy to sell people on stuff. So I think, and it's not that everyone's bad, but I think that always creates opportunities for people who like to sell things and take advantage of situations to get in those, right? And so, yeah, have you noticed that happening in dental?
I mean, they're everywhere. Let's just be
Yeah.
honest. Like they're just flooding the market, and this goes back to, I think just being thoughtful on how you're picking those and making sure you're doing your due diligence on that. This is where we feel like, Mango does have a competitive advantage is we already own the phone side. We have all that data. This is one thing that just really kind of fits into our ecosystem that makes sense. And then you start thinking about what we can do with call routing with this technology, right? So we're
Yeah.
actually,
Like Eric's
routing
favorite
calls.
thing
We
to
already know
do.
what's happening. Like it becomes almost like intelligent call routing. Um, so
So
we're
like
really excited about that.
could it do this? Because this was the problem we always ran into. We had two offices, right? They were like sister locations, so different names and everything. But you had um like we would do some procedures at one office and some not at another, or we'd try to take overflow calls at one office and have the other office answer them, right? So kind of doing like workarounds. Um, could it almost eventually like do rerouting like that, where it was like, hey, if they call office A and they say, I need an implant. And you're like, yeah, Office A, though, doesn't provide that. They're still connected. Can we somehow, if we hear the word implant or they want it, they can get it to a specific person or they can reroute it to another office and like get them where they need to be?
That's exactly right. So,
Yeah, that's pretty sweet.
when
That's
a call
cool.
comes
Yeah.
in, instead of hitting, so what I am 100% convinced in is like IVRs. Um,
What's
What's an IVR?
so let's say you call somebody and says, "Hey, press one if you're a new patient. Press
Oh,
two if
like
you're exist."
yeah. Yep,
Those
that's what we
those are
do.
gone. Like those are done.
Okay.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Voicemails are done. Like,
Good.
why go to a
Lance mine in
voicemail?
there.
Just go to an AI agent,
Yeah.
and they can get the information. So imagine this is when I talk about intelligent kind of call routing. Is a call comes into the practice, the agent picks it up, and basically, not basically, but through a brief series of questions, figures out exactly what they want, and then routes the call accordingly.
Yeah.
So
So cool. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, hey, I'm looking to price an implant. It's like, perfect, I'll get you to the right place. Hey, I've got a question about my bill. Perfect, I'll get you to the right place.
So
Yeah.
what would be
Jeez.
sweet is like if I was like a DSO or I had a bunch of offices, right? This is where I think this would be huge too. Is I almost wouldn't have anyone up front
Yeah. You have
who
a call
takes
center
calls. I would have
or
almost
like
like a call center,
yeah.
and I'd have closers. Like I'd have people who are awesome at closing, like
They're just treatment coordinators.
yeah,
Or
like treatment coordinators, and they don't even have to be dental related. They can just be people who know how to like. You got like a $20,000 case. That's what this is what you said, Alex.
yeah,
But like
yeah, yeah.
using it with his is, you almost have a central call center where you've got people who are trained in sales. They know how to talk about full arch cases, all on fours, these big ticket items. And then when you call my office, if the AI recognizes this person is either interested in all on four, or maybe they're a patient who already was given a treatment plan and now they want to schedule it, it knows to send them to like John, because John's the guy at our call center who
Oh,
knows
it
how to do
totally
this.
makes sense
And
with DSOs and like
yeah,
massive amount of practices and like based on your location, you're gonna be sent to that office.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah, cool.
that's pretty cool.
to Eric's point, it'll actually know who the best closer is. So it'll send
Yeah,
the call to the best closer first, and
yeah.
if they don't answer, it'll just go down the list.
Oh yeah.
That's
Yeah, I don't think
really
Because
people
cool.
realize like this. I think we're in a stage where like, and it's really cool. It's probably how like the internet was. Like I don't know. We were
You were
pretty
little.
young. We were
Yeah.
like, barely teenagers when that came out, right? And it was big. Is I feel like this is one of those times where you can just have a thought in your head and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's actually going to happen or that could happen." And
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
yeah, I think we'll get to the point where you'll walk into your practice and you'll just talk to your computer and say, "Hey, tell me what my production was yesterday,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
That's
That
what are some
and there, yeah.
opportunities?
and
What are
that's
some
what I've
opportunities that you see for me to
Mm-hmm.
get more efficient?"
And
And
that's what I've thought too.
Yeah.
I feel like I was listening to some other podcast and they were like, they'll still exist, but the concept where like you need a full platform you don't need that anymore. Like even a morning
no,
huddle. Why do you need to pull up a sheet that has your morning huddle? It just has the data, but then you have to interpret it. There should be a point where you just say, tell me I want to go over morning huddle, and literally like an AI agent will go through and say like, you can train it how you want. I have this much in production. There's these spots
Yeah.
for opportunities. This patient has bad gag reflex, right? Like you can train it what you need it to do, and it'll just tell everyone.
And then to task it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
And
like, oh, this is what I'm doing today. I need to follow
I-
up with these people. But it won't even be a person. It'll be an AI agent
But that's what
following
that
up with them.
person on that podcast even said too. People I think are going to start relying on their phones more. So like even what we're working on with our ordering stuff is instead of having to like log into a platform every time and like pick what you're going to choose, I think a lot of communications, because everyone's got a smartphone now, assistants, the doctor, you can do so much over your phone. Like if you were like, hey, what's my supply budget this month, right? It could just tell you. Hey, where's this package I ordered? It can just tell you. And that's what we're trying to work on, is trying to get that piece just way more customized, and it can be done via voice or via text all over your phone.
yeah, I think you're right. And another interesting area that we see is, you know, we're developing agents that can help train in the practice. And what I mean by that is, the area that Mango's over, really, phone calls, is how can we, build agents that help when humans do answer the calls. And
Yes.
a lot of times for a lot of people, that's a very awkward thing, right? So when the doctor goes and talks to the front office and said, "Hey, I listened to this call and it wasn't great," it could be a very awkward conversation, because then someone's like, "Great, am I in trouble? Am I going to get
Mm-hmm.
fired? Oh my gosh."
Yeah.
But imagine if an agent could go to that team member at the front office and say, "Hey, I reviewed all your calls today. I have some suggestions for you. Can I share
Yeah.
those with you?" All of a sudden, like,
Yeah.
there's none of this, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to get fired. Oh my gosh, am I in
Yep.
trouble? I suck." That all goes away. And it's like, okay, yeah, let me know what I can do better. And it just shares what it could do better. So I think from a training perspective too, these potentially have a lot of upside because it takes a lot of that weird dynamic out and it just makes it about how can we make you better.
That's
So
amazing. And I thought about that idea, not with phones, but that's perfect, but with like treatment coordinators, like going in to
Same
present treatment.
concept.
Same
Yes.
concept. Exactly. It was like, hey, here was your treatment presented for the day. Like, this is what you did. You talked to this person like this. That was great. Good job. But this, you didn't say this instead, or you should do all the pointers. And then now you have your training for the next person that comes in. And now it's like, I want to be a treatment coordinator. It's perfect. Here's the manual on what you need to say, the scripting and all of that.
And the coolest thing too is you can tell the AI how it should be trained. You could say, take best practices from X company that sells things really well, or like from this person who's been great at sales and has all these like, you can feed it all the content from this person, and then it can customize it into dental, and then you're training. Then you don't have a dentist or like a dumbass like me who doesn't understand sales. And I'm trying to explain to someone who also doesn't understand sales how to sell something to someone.
Yeah.
And it's just the blind leading the blind. It's the blind leading the blind, because this is going to take out that, it's going to give dentists that edge that's going to make their close rates probably way better and get patients the treatment they need. So yeah, that is so cool.
We all know Eric wants more friends. If you're enjoying this episode, share the podcast and then tell them to DM Eric so he can hit his quota of 1 new friend per day. Now back to the episode.
Yeah, you're right. So we're going to be making some announcements around this in the next, probably few weeks that we're super excited about around the training side, and actually just building it into the Mango platform, which I'm really really excited about, so that doctors and office managers in large part can just leave the training, on the phone side and those interactions up to Mango. Like it'll just completely be AI driven. So we're super excited about some of the stuff we're working on there as well.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet.
That is cool.
Cool. Well, hey, Alex, why don't we pivot? Tell us some of the stuff that, like, AI stuff you've been working on, or not working on, that you've been using, like, in your own
that I try
life.
to go around. Yeah. So like obviously with like ChatGPT, huge, right? We all pretty much use it for anything. But I've been using it for like meal planning and stuff like that. Like I've been using for like every aspect of my life, like parenting. Like I have like, Dr. Becky and stuff on there. It's like, hey, take her insights and like, here are my kids. This is what they're going through. This is like their ages and stuff. And then like I feed it like, this is what happened. How should I react to this? And it like gives me like a full thing. And I'm like, oh, that's really good advice. I should probably do that. And so it's like stuff like that, or like my health records and stuff. Like I haven't fully like put all of that on there, but like what supplements I need to take, what vitamins, like all of that stuff. I'm like, I'm feeding it into ChatGPT. Here's all my stuff. What else should I do? What should I be doing to like, for longevity or for optimal, weight management or all of that stuff? It's like all in there. And yeah. And like part therapist too. So like I have a channel and I named him Harvey after Harvey Specter because he's like the coolest guy that,
Yeah, for those who don't know, Suits.
From
the
Suits.
ultimate closer.
He's so cool. Well, I'm not using him for like closing stuff. I just want him to like tell me how good I am at stuff and like I'm such a badass and stuff. So I like sometimes talk to him. I'm like, hey, this is like the situation that's going on. And like from his perspective, like as the character, like give me advice on and stuff on that.
That's awesome.
So like, I've been, using a lot of stuff like that. So that's just like ChatGPT. But one of the first things I did with AI was AI headshots. I did that like maybe 2 years ago, year and a half ago. Cause I, was, doing some business stuff and I'm like, geez, I don't have like an up-to-date photo of me. And I'm like searching through my phone and I'm like, kids in this one. Oh, I'm pregnant in this one. And I'm like, shit, there's like nothing professional. And so, I went to one of those, I think it was like Studio Shot AI or something like that, uploaded like a bunch of pictures and it like came back with like 50 AI photos. And like some of them I needed to tweak. I'm like, okay, I need, don't make me look like this. But they were like professional, like in a white coat and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, these look pretty good.
I mean, it's even crazy with ChatGPT
really
how much better it's gotten with image creation in like the last few months. Because remember, like 3-4 months ago, you could feed it something and be like, give me an image of, well, here's an example. I just posted this today because I saw it was in one Facebook group, and it was that app that you can almost like rent out your pool. So it's like Airbnb for your pool. And I didn't know that
Mhm.
existed. And I was like, that's interesting. Like I was like, oh, that could be an extra revenue stream for people, right? But like you'd have to be okay with people in your pool all the time. But if you were, it could work. And I was like, things tend to get more engagement and when there's a photo, right? And if it's bright, people tend to look at it. So I was like, oh, I'll put a photo in there. And I was able just to prompt it, ChatGPT, and like, give me a photo of, people kind of overtaking a pool. It's pretty chaotic, blah, blah, blah. And it spit out an image and I said, make it realistic. I didn't have to really tweak anything on it. The only thing that it still has guardrails on, which I found out is, I thought it would be funny if there was like a picture of like a baby walking on a diving board. And it was like, no, this is considered child endangerment. We cannot post this in here.
Yeah.
So that I had to tweak. So I had
Yeah.
to tweak it to someone like holding a margarita. But
Yeah, they
it's
have like
crazy.
child protection stuff.
Yeah, but it's crazy how good it is.
Yeah, and what I've done even with the kids, I've put in a photo of like the kids and I'm like, make it a coloring page for them. And then I print it off and it's them like at the park and they're like, oh, this is really cool. And is it a little off? Yeah, a little bit. But like, who cares? It's just like, that's kind of neat. I don't have to buy like a coloring book anymore. This is like, we can do whatever we want. Like,
but even with the podcast, like our vibe of it is, right, like we're like 90s kids and like that's kind of like our jam on what we like. And so whenever I like need to create an image or do something, I can train it to create images that are 90s style, right? And it does pretty cool stuff with it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. With headshot stuff, like going back to like dental related, like whenever it was like, I don't know, like an omen or something like that, whenever we would take a full photo of all of our staff together, like a group photo, one or two people would always quit, like literally with it, like the next week or like the 2 weeks after. It was like, son of a gun. It's like, so we wouldn't do like group photos. We're like, someone's going to leave and like F up this photo. So that's absolutely what I would do. I would do like just AI header, like photos of people to put, if you wanted them on your like website.
Yeah, but even now with AI, you could still take that photo if you wanted to. And with like the tools that I think what Photoshop and has stuff now, like you could just say crop out this person and it'll put the actual background of how it should be behind there. It doesn't look like awkward or weird. It's
yeah,
so
I'm sure
good.
there's a lot of opportunity there. And I'm trying to think other things like, so I have an email optimizer, I guess, that I've been starting to use, tinker with. It like reads through all my emails and like categorizes them and then like drafts up a response. It doesn't like auto send it, but it drafts it up and can like link up to my calendar and stuff and offer times that I'm available and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like tinkering with that one. That one's kind of cool. But
is there anything you're working on, Kevin, or anything that you use personally?
Yeah, the one I'm a Gemini fan, so I use Gemini quite often to brainstorm a lot. But I was just thinking about what Alex just said, which is eventually you're going to do that. Say, hey, give me my meal prep for the week. It's going to prep every one of your meals. It's going to say, what do you think about this? And once you approve it, you're just going to say, hey, go buy all the ingredients I need for that and just get them shipped to my house.
Yep.
Like, to your point on like supplies for the office, it's like, hey, what supplies do I need? Hey, great. Will you go out and price that and just find the best price and just ship it to the practice?
Yeah.
Like this is the stuff where we spend a lot of time that it's going to be really, really good at. And I think these tools will get better and better. If I have a product idea at Mango, there's a UX AI. I go and I just write in what I want the product to look like. And then it just generates it basically generates the UI for it and what it would look like at Mango.
Wow.
Stuff like that, where it's like, you can do it in minutes and at least get your ideas down and tweak it. I think it's just such such a time saver.
Well, I mean, we were just watching a video on some guy how he creates like graphics just using AI, right? Kind of like you were saying. And so for you, let's say you guys are launching the whole AI version, right? In the past, you'd have to probably hire a firm. They maybe have to take photos of your phones, right? They'd have to create designs, do videos, all that kind of stuff. Now with AI, you who has probably the idea of what you want to do can train it and you can have all those graphics, all those things just all created, and it saves so much money and so much time. So I think where this is cool is it's filling that gap from like idea to execution, and it's really shortening it. And so now you can be the idea person and you can learn how to execute on it, and you don't have to, like, for us the biggest challenge is anything else we've been doing or working on, it's we have the idea and then it just takes so long to implement because you've got to go through so much red tape. You got to talk to this person, then they don't get back to you, then maybe this person, and now if you can cut all that out and you can have your idea and have AI create the final product, it's gonna, like, technology is gonna come out so fast.
Yeah. I mean, AI writes about 60% of our code for developers right now.
Oh, wow.
So 60% of their code just gets written.
Yeah.
Which
I
is
believe
super
it.
cool.
I'm doing that too, because I, like, with my side business or whatever, there's some things that I need to do, and I'm using ChatGPT to, like, turn this CSV file into a script so that I can import it into my database. I'm like, there's no way I would know how to do that, but ChatGPT figured out how to do it, and it's saving me a lot of time. So it's like, geez, this is so cool. Yeah.
It's exciting times.
Oh, I mean, we could probably talk for
I
like
know
20 hours
yeah,
on this.
AI is
No,
so
that'd be
neat.
cool, because it would be fun, Kevin, too, just as you guys continue to progress and do more, just to have you on more just to talk about this, because I do think this is a really important topic for, like, any dentist just to get more knowledgeable on, and to just to have more comfort. And you know, for you guys have been around forever, right? So I mean, you guys have that social proof of doing things the right way. And I will say, one cool thing that I think you guys have done is, you know, you guys got so big on probably the most boring piece of equipment in the dental office, right? Which is the phone. And so you always, you know, like, I think that makes a good point is, and I guess you could argue this with AI, is there's also going to be an advantage for people who do things that AI can't take over. So my point on all that is, though, is, like, you know, 8-10 years ago or whatever, when Mango was getting big and stuff like that, there were a ton of companies that were coming out with all these, like, fancy, you know, new intraoral camera, a new this, a new this, a new this. But you guys just focused on the boring thing that's never going to go away, right? And got really good at that. So I think that was super smart on your guys' end. And then now you guys can get into some of the fun stuff. Not that phones aren't fun, but, like, props to you guys for taking the piece that no one really thinks about or thinks is cool and just going deep on that.
Yeah, thank you. No, it's we got a great team, and they've done a great job executing. So it's been a lot of fun.
Cool. And then maybe by the next time when we do an episode, Kevin, it'll just be like your avatar and it won't be you on it. It'll be your digital version.
Or ours.
Or ours.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's I'll send you that I'm going to send you that phone number to call. Let's put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
The other cool thing that we actually just launched this morning is you can speak to it in Spanish, French, Russian, and it'll respond to you in your language. So
No way.
once you say something in another language, it'll start responding to you in that language, which is super cool.
That's amazing.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming on. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.